What's up, survivors? Great to see you. What if you find a tree on the ground and you want to chop it up? All you have is an axe. Well, you're in luck. Let's go through it. All we're going to do is go over this tree that we just recently cut down, cut it up into manageable size sections, split it up, and then show you how to get it down small enough. And the best way that I've found over all my years of chopping wood and starting fires, coming up. Well, welcome to my office. The first thing that we want to think about is safety. Do I have good sturdy boots on? Do I have good clothes on? For the most part, you don't want to wear gloves, especially if it's cold outside. So if you have leather gloves on, snow gets on your gloves, starts to freeze because it's colder, then your hand wants to slip off a lot easier. You don't want your axe flying out of your hand. So generally, you don't want to be wearing gloves in the wintertime. Or if it's raining out, it can make things a lot more slippery too. And I've done it before, wearing gloves in the winter, and I felt like my hands weren't slippery. It was safer at that time to wear gloves. It just depends on your situation. Now, when we're cut up our tree right here, generally about an axe length is a good indicator about how far I want to go to make my notch. And my notch should be about as wide as the diameter of my tree, so about that wide. If it's too small, you're working down into too tight of a quarters. Now if you make your bolt of wood or your section of wood too short, it's going to be easier to split, but you're going to have to chop up a lot more. Generally, if it's about an axe distance or even a little bit longer, you can cut that piece out, split it up, and then down into quarters, and then you can just break it from there. So it's faster, it saves energy that way. So let's make our notch. It's about this wide. Okay, survivors, how not to chop a piece of wood. 2 hands down here. Dangerous. Out of control. So the proper way to swing an axe, especially if it's heavier, is to grab your non-dominant hand down towards the bottom, dominant hand towards the top, and then when you come down, you're going to bring your hands together for more power, and it swings down into it. So hand up, as I come down, I'm swinging down. And so it's a lot more efficient than bringing it up like this every time, and it's a lot more accurate. So when I start, come up around your shoulder, around the side of your shoulder, and it seems like it's getting close to your head, but it's not, as long as you keep your hand away and then down. And I come down at an angle, and I come around the other side, and I'm just switching my angle both times. So come down at an angle here. If you get too far that way, it's going to glance off. Same on the other side. Some common things that I've seen is I come down like this on one side, and then they switch hands and then try and come down the other way. That's slow and it's not quite as accurate. So you don't need to do that. Just go both sides as you're chopping back and forth. The most efficient way to chop. If you have a 5-pound head, 6, 7, 8-pound splitting maul head, that's even heavier to even try and do something like that too. Inefficient. So the proper way to chop, to last the longest, spread your hands apart. Make sure you're in a nice athletic stance, because a common thing, once you get a little deeper in here, is it starts to glance off. If you hit in the wrong spot, it'll glance off and then go out. So you want to make sure that nothing is in the area, that you're nice and safe, nothing is overhead. No, that's not the way to do it. Just go nice and controlled. Chop at the front part of your notch and then the back part. Alternating back and forth. Once you get down close, you don't want to chop all the way through and then into the ground. That one split nicely for us. You can flip it over, break it. Woo! Survivor's tired. Oh, baby! So we have our piece of wood cut up right here. Right in our axe length, the bolt, the piece of it. So part of it split nicely already for us. So then from there, use your other piece of wood that you have, and then you can split it up. So basically, look for a natural crack in the wood, and that's where you want to start. This one, I might be able to start from that spot or flip it around and look for the natural crack. But I already split here, so it's not going to be quite as solid. I'm just going to lay that flat part down right on the piece of wood from here. Make sure that your wood is solid. Turn it if you need to. Again, check your surroundings, make sure everything is good to go. And the reason you have a piece of wood here is so you don't chop into the ground and put a big ding in your axe. Also, it creates a more solid base, so it makes a better transfer of energy as you split into the piece of wood. I mean, it's a lot more solid hitting that than versus right on the ground with the ground absorbing energy. Then from there, athletic stance, bring it up, and then straight down right towards the middle. Start splitting towards the end. So I split all the way through there. Start from the end, middle, and then flip it around, do the other end. So I went all the way through, keep it in this position, go about a third of the way down, maybe the middle, hit that same crack. You can see that's just about through. Now you want to be careful, if I hit it here again, it can flip up towards me and then hit me in the face. So you want to find that line where it goes in the middle but not in the ground and still hits the other piece of wood. Flip it around, follow your crack down, swing down, and then split it that way. Then it splits into halves. Then you can go again into quarters, find the natural crack, go in the middle. Now you want to be careful with prying too hard with your axe sideways. It's not designed for that. You can do a little bit, but don't pry with all your might. That's where you break your axe handle. And I've seen that enough. But to help it out, if it's mostly split, it's okay to pry just slightly. And from there, split into quarters, protect it up off the side of the wood, so it's up off the ground. Then you can even split it one more time if you wanted to. Make your pile. Go to the next one. Say it doesn't split all the way through. Flip it around. And that's what really helps it to split. And just work your way all the way down. From this part, pick up all your pieces of wood. Put it underneath a good tree with good overhead protection. Lean it up. Imagine there's a bunch of snow all on the ground right here. Imagine it's pouring rain. Stand it up so it stays protected, soaks up a lot less moisture. There. Now we have our pieces of wood split up, keeping them protected up off the ground. Just one part is up off the ground there, and then just one part is touching the ground. So let's split these up a little bit more using the proper technique. And I'm going to look for a knot, and then even with the knots, you can split those knots up. So once you get to that point, now I'm going to turn it and try and keep it. I'm going to try not to split it like this. It's going to be easier just to put it on a flat section, have a round part here. I'm going to hit that in the middle, pry slightly. Be careful, a lot of times if you pry and your axe slips out, it'll go right back on your fingers. So that hurts. Then from there, it's almost to a point where I could step on it and break it to make it easier to split apart. That's about the max I'd want to do for safety reasons. As you're splitting down through, keep your pieces protected, and even a couple runners off the side will help keep them from falling off. So we have our runners, we have our fuel size. And then accuracy will come with practice. Accuracy will come. When you have these triangular pieces right here, try and find a natural crack in the wood to help hold it up so you have more surface area to split. It's more difficult to hit the exact spot that you want here. You can split them this way when they're sideways like this, that works. I usually like to do it in this way if I can get it to stay propped up. Find my spot on the end, come down, work it down, do the same thing. If that one doesn't want to split, again, flip it around, come on down. When you set your axe down, be safe with it. Either face it away from you, don't lay it right in the snow or ground. And then just continue to work on down through into smaller, manageable sized pieces where you can either use your knife or your axe to split it from there. Now if we want to use our axe, then what we can do, try and find your best pieces to start with. Nice, straight grained, no knots in it. A knot is where a branch grew out of the wood. So there's no knots here. Point your axe facing away. Put on the middle part of the wood, lift them up both at the same time, and then twist. And from there, that's long enough where I can hold both in my hand, break it in half, make it pencil size. What size is pencil? Very good, pencil size. Then from there, find your best ones to make pencil. And then you want enough to start a fire. Enough to start a fire is right around 32-ounce Gatorade bottle size. And then you could work up from that part to thumb size. So make your pieces about thumb size. And then we got our fuel down there. To keep everything nice and organized, I'm going to put a stick in the ground to separate my pieces right here. So we have our pencil, nice and protected, thumb size, and then fuel. So again, blade facing away. I'm bringing them both down at the same time, and I'm twisting with my left hand right here, pushing with my right. I can either move my hand back and forth, and I can twist at the same time and then push. It's just safer, so the axe head doesn't hit you in the head, at the end of the handle doesn't hit you in the head, and the bit isn't going towards you. And then to be really safe, what you can do is to put leather gloves on. So even with leather gloves, you can still cut yourself. It's happened to me before. There's about thumb size. Now again, find the best pieces. Don't break it against your knee, because it's happened where your kneecap, someone's been pulling as hard as they can, and the kneecap is dislocated to the side. So set it on a piece of wood, step down carefully, pull up, and then break it like that. So this piece, no knots in it. So I'm going to save that one for my smallest size because it splits the best. So if we have a knot in the end here, we want to attack that knot, lift up and down right on that knot, and then it splits better there. Sometimes you need to work at it pretty hard, and that'll help it to split right in that spot. Turn it sideways, so I did split it like this, turn it sideways, and then go down through, twist, push, And then with practice, you'll find out which way it splits the best. And so if you just look at the piece of wood as you're doing it, try and analyze, okay, how's that wood gonna split down through before it runs out the side. To make a feather stick, find a spot without a knot in it. It's a nice straight edge right here. So this is the knot once again. And then what that allows you to do is hopefully cut into the piece of wood. You can go kind of slow and controlled like this. Kind of use the weight of the axe to push down without pushing down too far. You can also just cut an edge off all the way down. If it cuts off from there, you can still save it later on. So it's a good idea to put this feather stick, when you're making this, on a platform of some sort. So the feathers that do cut off, you're saving those. So if you notice, I'm cutting off a little edge each time. And then you can just keep going, stop right before. And you want at least 5 feathers on your stick, on one feather stick. What this does, it makes it easier to light. You can light this up right with the lighter, right at the end, cut all the way through. You can light this up right with the lighter. You put 5 of these down with at least 5 feathers for your stick, and then that's a good start to your fire. Light those up, grab your handful of your pencil size, put them right over that carefully, and you'll start your fire right up. Guaranteed. Any environment. So, easy to do, just practice a little bit, and basically let me know how it works out for you, and how we all keep surviving.